After an upset-riddled Madrid Open, the tour returns to the Eternal City for dibs at the second and final Clay 1000 on the docket, the 2022 Italian Open. I'll break down this unbelievably packed draw, go over all the potential matchups before predicting who I think will go all the way and raise the trophy here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. After taking a short yet much needed break from 1000s play, Iga Swiatek returns to Rome as the defending champion and can open up against American Shelby Rogers, followed by Victoria Azarenka in round 3, Annette Kontaveit in the quarters, Arna Sabalenka in the semis, and Paula Badosa in the final. I think Iga's section looks pretty favorable, all things considered. Rogers and Risk are decent players, but the Polish woman should be able to handle them without too much trouble. Same with Azarenka, who for the second consecutive event opens up against Victoria Golubic. Judging from her match with Anisimova in Madrid, Vika is not playing at the high level of tennis necessary to be the world's #1. Now moving down, things get very interesting. We have an absolute blockbuster on our hands between two US Open champs, Emma Raducanu and Bianca Andreescu. Both Emma and Bibi had decent showings in Madrid, racking up 2 solid victories each before falling in the round of 16. Both are relatively inexperienced playing on the clay on tour, but because they move and defend so well on the surface, they tend to do pretty well. I think both women's level are very similar at the moment, so it'll be almost a toss-up for me to pick the victor. I think both players' game styles are similar too, but I give the slight edge to Andreescu in the variety department. The question is though, will her variety be enough to get her over the finish line? Or will Emma's slightly better match fitness be the defining factor? Like I said, this is more of a toss-up for me, but I am going to go with Andreescu to prevail and move to round 2. Now things wouldn't get easier for either Bianca or Emma, as they could face yet another US Open champ, Naomi Osaka. However, Osaka has a tricky opener herself, playing against Sarah Sirius Tormo, the same woman who sent her packing in Madrid. Now the scoreline of that match was very one-sided, but actually fully watching that match, it was much closer than what it appeared. Osaka had a lot of opportunities to apply greater scoreboard pressure, but really didn't know how to play the important points against the Spaniard. She didn't come out with the right game plan at all, but I think this time around will be much different. Now I am a bit concerned about Osaka's Achilles issue that plagued her during that second round loss. That to me is one of the biggest factors to consider, and part of me is worried that she'll have to withdraw before the tournament officially begins. For that reason, I'm sending Sirius Tormo through to round 2 and have Andreescu ultimately sending her home. Lastly, at the bottom, 5th seed Annette Kontaveit makes her return after withdrawing from Madrid due to illness. The Estonian to me hasn't been herself since Doha, as she's gone 3-3 since. Also, Karolina Muchova is a big threat and has been quickly returning to her top form. I'm actually going with the Czech woman to come through there and against Andreescu to reach the quarters, and then there I'd have Swiatek advance to the final 4. 3rd seed Arna Sabalenka could start against Hua Zhang, followed by Jessica Pegula in the 3rd, another American Danielle Collins in the quarters, Swiatek in the semis, and Paula Badosa in the finals. By the way, Barbora Krejcikova would have been the 3rd seed here, but she withdrew ahead of the draw due to an ongoing elbow injury. What really intrigues me about the top part of this section is Sabalenka's possible 3rd round opponent. Kalinina, Keys, Samsonova, and Pegula are all great players who I'd pick to win over the Belarusian. Kalinina and Pegula would be my top 2 picks based on how well they both played in Madrid. Jessica though did go all the way to the finals, so she has a lot less time to recover. For this reason, I'm going to go with the Ukrainian to move through and make the quarters. Moving down, Belinda Bencic and Amanda Anisimova will likely play in the 2nd round, and here I go with the Swiss woman to avenge her Aussie Open defeat to Amanda and reach the 3rd round. Anisimova did have a solid run in Madrid, making the quarterfinals, but I do feel like Bencic is a bit more solid at the moment. Then all the way at the bottom, Simona Halep might play Danielle Collins in the 2nd round, but the Romanian has to get by Lisa Cornet, who did beat her at the Australian Open earlier this season. I do feel like Halep will get revenge over both Cornet and Collins. If you don't remember, Simona and Danielle played one another in Montreal last year, which was Simo's first match back following a calf injury. Collins was playing some of her best tennis at the moment and was riding a match win streak, but Simona still pushed the American to the edge despite playing her first tour match in nearly 5 months. Danielle's level at the moment isn't as high, whereas Halep is playing pretty solid tennis, which is why I give her the edge. I'd also pick the 2020 champ to move past Bencic and Kalinina to make the semifinals. 4th seed Maria Sakkari could play her first match against Slam champion Sloane Stephens before facing another American Coco Gauff in round 3. Then Garbiñe Muguruza is a possible quarters opponent, as is Badosa in the semis, followed by Swiatek in the final. Garbiñe is guaranteed to play a qualifier in the second round, which is definitely not a guaranteed win considering her recent form. The Spanish woman could meet Madrid Open champion Ons Jabeur in the third round, and like with Pegula, I am worried that Ons won't have enough in the tank for Rome. Remember, Jabeur played Charleston, Stuttgart, and Madrid, going deep in all 3 events. For this reason, I will go ahead and take the risk and have Garbiñe come through there and make the quarterfinals. Meanwhile, 15 seed Coco Gauff has an interesting draw because there seem to be a lot of anomalies. She'll open up against Angie Kerber, who is a 3-time major champion. However, Kerber's been struggling lately and clay is her least favorite surface, so I'll give Gauff the edge there. Then Coco could play fellow team Clara Tauson, who's had some mixed results this season. I'm also choosing Gauff there. Now, Sakkari has been off her game herself lately, not winning 2 consecutive matches since Indian Wells. She won't be able to play herself into form here in Rome, as she gets either Sloane or Madrid semifinalist Ekaterina Alexandrova. Alexandrova, I think, will continue her form here in Rome and take out Sakkari before falling to Gauff. Now, I really think Coco has the potential to reach the final, as she's of course a very skilled player. Plus, clay is her best surface. Despite the ample time she has on the dirt, Gauff's forehand is still a huge liability that prevents her from going deep into these big events. On the other hand though, Muguruza has been playing horrendously all season, and even though she might get some good juju from practicing with Iga, that can only take her so far. Gauff does seem to enjoy the conditions here in Rome and actually took out Sakkari en route to the semifinals last year. I'm gonna pick her to do the same this year. Lastly, Spaniard Paula Badosa will likely open against Veronika Kudermetova, potentially followed by another Russian Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in round 3. Badosa might face Karolina Pliskova in the quarters, followed by Sakkari in the semis and Iga in the final. To me, this section offers some of the most opportunity. At the top, there's 6 seed Karolina Pliskova, who's still on the comeback trail, trying to regain her form. She could have a tricky opener versus Madrid semifinalist Jill Teichmann, and the Swiss woman actually took out Pliskova in the Cincinnati semifinals last year. Now, Pliskova does have some good juju with the tennis gods in Rome, as she's made the finals here for the past 3 years. I actually think the Czech woman has a decent chance at continuing the trend, as Teichmann is likely to feel some type of fatigue. Plus, Raducanu and Ostapenko are a bit unpredictable. I will go ahead and have Pliskova make the quarterfinals here. Paula Badosa, as aforementioned, could open against Veronika Kudermetova, which she did in Madrid also, crushing the Russian 3-love. I don't expect the same beatdown to occur, but I still pick Paula to come through. Meanwhile, Leylah Fernandez looms as well, but I will pick Daria Kasatkina to move through that little section instead, cause she's been racking up some solid results on clay so far. I will stick with Badosa to move through there though to make the quarterfinals, where I think Karolina will advance to the semis. I am worried for Paula physically because she seems to be struggling with different ailments, but she seems to be too stubborn to pull out of tournaments and take the time to appropriately address the issues. However, I think it'll catch up to her here in Rome, which is why I don't see her going as far as I think she could. For my predictions, I have Swiatek and Halep in the semifinals with Iga reaching the final, then Pliskova and Gauff with Karolina advancing to the championship. Then in the final, I have Iga taking it all for a repeat result of last year's final. I do think the field has a slightly greater chance of winning the title over Iga because the poll did decide to sit out for a week. Now, I think withdrawing from Madrid was the right decision for Iga long term, but it may have halted her momentum and overall form from winning those 4 consecutive titles. Granted, it's only been a week, so it shouldn't be that big of an issue, which is why I still have her taking the title at the end of the day. We have to remember that she does have a 23-match win streak for a reason. That being said, I do believe there are some players that can cause Swiatek trouble, especially in that quarterfinal. Karolina Muchova is very skilled and definitely has the repertoire to disrupt Swiatek's mojo. Iga usually handles Kontaveit fairly handily, so I don't see the Estonian causing her that much trouble should they meet, but you never know. Then Andreescu could be an interesting matchup, especially considering how she's never played Iga. Swiatek has played Raducanu and Osaka fairly recently, matter of fact, but those two have to really be on their games to win. I did pick Halep to come out of that second section, which means the likes of Sabalenka, Collins, Pegula, Bencic, and Anisimova were kind of snubbed. I can see all 5 of those women making it out of there, especially the last 3. However, I am going to stick with the steadier Halep and her clay court prowess to get her through. I think that Simona has one of the best chances to beat Iga at this event, so she also make it to the semifinals, but I still feel like the world number 1 will have a bit too much firepower and clutchness for the Romanian to handle. Ons Jabeur is really the best player in the third section, and I would pick her, but like I said, I don't see her being able to make another big push with this being her 4th consecutive clay court tournament. I think if Sakkari can regain her form and get by either Stevens or Alexandrova in that opening round, she can make a deep run too. Then lastly, Raducanu and especially Ostapenko can't go deep in Rome, but neither woman has enough confidence for me on clay. Pliskova doesn't either, but she seems to get it together for Rome, so maybe the same thing can happen for her this year. Joe Teichmann of course looms as a potential threat too. I don't really see Pavlyuchenkova or Fernandez doing a whole lot here, and like I said, I'm looking for Kasatkina to make another strong run. Kudermetova can do something too if she's able to get by Badosa, and as I said before, I do think Coco has a solid shot at even reaching the finals, but her forehand has to be solid all the way through, and I'm not sure if it can hold up for 5 or 6 matches. Regardless of what happens though, I am confident in my final pick and having Swiatek take it all home. Now before I close things out, here's a list of all the first round matches you need to keep your eyes peeled out for. That's all for this tournament preview, and let me know what you think about the draw and my predictions in the comment section below. Do you think Swiatek and Pliskova are solid picks? If not, who do you think would be in the finals? Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.